Beverly Hofstadter wrote the book on how to raise a child. I mean that literally. She wrote several of them. Some of them are taught in actual college psychology courses. And she is, by a wide margin, the single worst parent on this entire show. I know exactly how that sounds, because this is a show that also gives us absent fathers and a few genuinely awful in-laws. But stay with me for a couple of minutes, because the worst thing about Beverly was never that she failed her son. It's who she was. The single most qualified human being on the planet to raise a child correctly looked directly at her own boy, knew precisely what he needed down to the neuron, and decided on purpose not to give it to him. And before you write her off as just a fun comedy villain, the cold lady who shows up to make Leonard squirm, understand that that reaction is exactly what the show is counting on. They make her funny so that you'll laugh instead of looking. And once you actually look, you can't go back. So let me be precise about what I mean, because it isn't the obvious stuff. It's not that she's cold. It's not that she's strict. Plenty of parents are strict and their kids turn out fine. It's not even that she apparently never told Leonard she loved him. It's this. Beverly is a world-renowned neuroscientist and an award-winning psychiatrist. Her entire life's work, the thing she's globally respected for, is the human mind, how attachment forms, how a child becomes a stable, healthy adult. She knows, better than almost anyone alive, exactly what a kid needs to not end up broken. And she withheld every last bit of it, deliberately, as a stated parenting philosophy, from the one child she was in charge of. That's the engine of this whole video, the hypocrisy of Beverly Hofstadter. And I want to be careful with that word, because I don't mean the hypocrisy of a fool who doesn't know anybody. Either I mean something much colder. The hypocrisy of the world's leading expert who knows better than you, better than me, better than any parent watching this, and chooses the opposite anyway. And then writes up the results and sells them on Amazon. Hey, take a seat on Cooper's couch. I want to walk you through this one carefully because it's the quietest kind of cruelty on the whole show, the kind with a PhD and a calm voice. And I'll warn you, I'm going to use a little real psychology in this one because a friend of mine who studied this stuff helped me put it together. Fitting for this particular woman. Let's start with the single most important fact about how Beverly ran her home. She didn't run it like a home, she ran it like a lab. Here's her actual stated philosophy of parenting, straight from the show. She believed in a reward-based environment, not unconditional love. Reward-based. Read that again and let it land, because it's the whole woman in 3 words. To Beverly, affection was not something a child is owed simply for existing. It was a paycheck. You performed, you achieved, you produced a measurable result, and then, maybe, you got a unit of approval in return. And if you didn't perform, nothing. No baseline, no floor. A child in that house was not a son or a daughter. A child in that house was a subject. And there is one iron rule in every laboratory on Earth. The first thing they teach you. You do not get attached to the subject. Beverly didn't fail to love Leonard. She ran an experiment that specifically forbade it. And I'm not reaching here because she documented it. This is the part that genuinely stops me. Beverly didn't just raise Leonard coldly. She studied him while she did it, and then she published. She wrote a book about her son called Needy Baby, Greedy Baby. She wrote another one called The Disappointing Child, which has an entire chapter devoted to, and this is the actual phrasing, anything that came out of him. One of her book covers has the line, "There's no guarantee, even if you have kids, that you're going to like them," printed right on the front. Imagine being a grown man, and that sentence exists, in stores, with your mother's name under it, and your childhood inside it. And here's the detail that takes it from cold to devastating. Beverly's book became required reading in college psychology courses. So years later, Penny, Leonard's wife, is able to read about Leonard's most private, most painful childhood moments in a textbook. She learns clinical details about her own husband's development from his mother's published research, including an accusation about codependent breastfeeding. Think about that. His wounds weren't even his to keep. His mother turned them into a citation. His pain went through peer review, and it never stopped being material to her. Decades later, when Leonard gets engaged, Beverly is willing to accept it, and you might think, finally, a normal motherly moment. But even that approval comes with fine print. She's fine with the engagement largely because Sheldon is fond of Penny. The blessing arrives secondhand, signed off by the genius, not Teo. He groom. And right up to the very end, when she shows up acting interested in Leonard's career, dropping by his lab, asking warm questions about his projects, the warmth turns out to be reconnaissance. She's quietly mining her own son for a book on overachieving couples. Every single time Leonard let himself believe his mother had finally come to actually see him, the truth was the same. She'd come to observe him. To a scientist, a person you study and a person you love are 2 different categories. And Beverly filed her son under the wrong one before he was old enough to object. Let me give you the rest of the receipts, because once you see the pattern, it's everywhere. Leonard never had a single birthday party growing up. Why? Because Beverly decided that celebrating his birth was illogical, since being born wasn't an achievement. He hadn't earned it. A baby, in her framework, had done nothing yet, so a baby got nothing. There's the school science fair, where young Leonard won a prize, and Beverly forced him to give it back because his project, the effect of classical music on plant growth, was too similar to an earlier project by one of his siblings. She made her own child publicly return a trophy he'd won, and the stress was so much that he regressed to wetting the bed. And she'd been comparing him unfavorably to his brother and sister, out loud, since he was around 8 years old. The brother who became a Harvard law professor, the sister, a medical researcher. Leonard, the least successful person in a family of high achievers, raised by a woman who measured love and achievement. Do the math on what that does to a kid. But here is the single image that, for me, says everything. Leonard, as a small child so starved for physical affection that he was not getting from the adults in that house, built himself a hugging machine. A machine. A little boy engineered a contrap, TN out of parts, so that something, anything, could hold him, because the people who were supposed to wouldn't. And the quiet gut punch underneath it, his father used to borrow it. So there were two people in that house, aching for a warmth that the resident world expert on human attachment was sitting on the whole time, refusing to dispense. The leading authority on how humans bond, presiding over a home where her husband and her son had to outsource hugs to a robot. And that machine tells you the temperature of the entire house, not just Leonard's corner of it, because Beverly's marriage to Leonard's father, Alfred, was every bit as frozen. By her own clinical description, the two of them were intimate only as a pro forma formality, strictly to produce children, and she once stated flatly that she'd been responsible for her own satisfaction since 1982. This was not a warm home with a single cold parent in it. This was a climate. A whole house where affection was treated as an inefficiency, where even the marriage ran like a contract with deliverables. Alfred was quietly miserable inside it for decades, so when Leonard reached out for comfort, there was no backup parent to turn to. There was a clinician on one side, and a defeated man on the other, both of them stuck in the same deep freeze. The boy didn't build that machine because one person was cold. He built it because the entire building was. And the cruelest irony of all, the one the show plays for laughs, is that Beverly analyzes everyone, constantly. She psychoanalyzes Leonard, Penny, the whole group. She'll psychoanalyze an elevator if you give her a minute. Her attention to the inner workings of the human mind is relentless and razor sharp, pointed at every single person in the room. Every person except the one subject she personally built. She could diagnose a stranger's childhood wound in 30 seconds and never once turn the instrument around to look at the one she carved herself. Now, I want to be fair, because some of you are getting ready to defend her, and there's a real argument here. You could say Beverly isn't cruel, she's just wired like Sheldon. Cold, literal, bad at reading people, running on logic instead of feeling. The show even tells you they're nearly identical personalities. And the show is careful to note that Beverly does everything with intention. She's not malicious, she just has a deficit. She literally cannot connect. And honestly, that's a generous, decent reading, and for a long time I bought it. But then the show itself demolishes that defense, and it does it through one relationship. Sheldon, because Beverly and Sheldon adore each other. When she visits, the two of them light up. They look at brain scans together for fun. They sing together. She stays in closer contact with Sheldon than with her own son for years. Sheldon knew about Leonard's parents getting divorced, about Beverly's surgery, even about the death of Leonard's childhood dog. All of it, weeks before Leonard did, because Beverly told Sheldon, and not Leonard. People have called her the mother. Sheldon wishes he had. And there it is. That's the whole case, right there. Because if Beverly were simply incapable of warmth, incapable of connection, a woman with a genuine deficit, then she couldn't light up for Sheldon either. But she can. She does. The capacity was there the entire time, so it was never that Beverly couldn't connect. It's that connection, for Beverly, was a reward, exactly like she always said. And Sheldon, the certified genius, earned it. Leonard, the merely very smart son who became the least decorated person in an overachieving family, did not. That's not a deficit. A deficit is something you can't help. This was a verdict. She looked at her own child, graded him against the competition, and found him not quite worth the warmth. And then, because she's Beverly, she felt completely fine about it. That's the part that makes her the heaviest character on the whole show, heavier than any actual villain. She isn't tortured about any of this. She doesn't lie awake. In her own mind, she wasn't a bad mother at all. She was a rigorous one, a principled one, a scientist who refused to contaminate her method with sentiment. Psychologists have a word for when your harmful behavior feels totally consistent with who you believe you are, when it never registers as wrong from the inside. It's called egosyntonic. Beverly can look back on a childhood that left her son desperate, insecure, bedwetting, building robots for hugs, and see a job well done. She published it as a job well done. The mirror never cracks, because she genuinely believes she's the smartest, most correct person in every room she enters, including the nursery. And on the one occasion she does decide to try warmth, watch how it comes out of her. Late in the series, Beverly announces that she is going to attempt unconditional love with Leonard. But listen to exactly how she frames it. She calls it a new protocol. a protocol. She is going to initiate a procedure of loving her son, the way you would roll out a new method in the lab. Even her sincere, well-meant attempt at affection arrives wearing a lab coat because that is the only language she owns. She doesn't know how to hold her own child. She only knows how to design a study about holding him. And if you saw my video on Leonard, you already know how this story ends for him because she wrote that ending before he could walk. Remember his organizing wound? The man who never felt like he mattered? The one who built his whole adult life trying to be chosen? Here's where that comes from. There's a moment where adult Leonard, standing in front of a crowd, admits out loud that he could never please his parents, so now he has to get all of his self-esteem from strangers. He said it as a joke. It is the least funny sentence in the entire series. A grown physicist, brilliant by any normal standard, standing in a room full of people he doesn't know, hoping they'll give him the one thing his mother kept locked in a drawer marked "Earn It." And if you want to watch that drawer in action, look at what Beverly does with Penny. For years she's icy toward her, dismissive, unimpressed. And then, late in the show, Beverly tells Penny that she's proud of her, proud, to her face. A sentence Leonard waited his entire life to hear from his mother and never once got. She even calls Penny the best of all her children's spouses, and when she finally grudgingly admits she's proud of Leonard too, listen to the fine print, she's proud of him, she says, if only for marrying well. Even in that rare flicker of approval, Leonard doesn't earn it by being himself. He earns it by attaching himself to someone she found more impressive. Every drop of warmth she ever hands him is routed through somebody else's achievement. Sheldon's genius, Penny's charm. Never just Leonard, standing right there, being her son. And I'll give the show this, because it matters. It does finally offer a crack of light. Penny, of all people, gets Beverly to loosen up exactly once, over drinks. And in that rare, unguarded moment, Beverly actually realizes why Leonard keeps her at a distance, and she gives him a real, genuine hug. And in the final season, Beverly comes to visit and suddenly seems fascinated by Leonard's work, dropping by his lab, asking about his projects, and for a moment he lets himself believe his mother finally sees him. And then he finds out the truth. She was only there gathering material for her next book. He was a subject. One last time, at the very end, he was research. But, and this is the show being kinder than Beverly ever was, that betrayal cracks open into the first honest conversation the two of them have ever had. And you understand, just barely, that underneath all the ice, Leonard's acceptance did quietly matter to her. She just never had the language for it. She spent a lifetime studying the human heart and never learned to operate her own. And step back and look at the scoreboard for a second because it is almost too on the nose. Beverly is award-winning, globally respected. Her papers get cited, her books get assigned, strangers pay good money to learn how the human mind works from her. By every external measure, she is a triumph in the science of people, and the one controlled, lifelong, hands-on experiment she ever ran personally, raising a human being from birth, produced a man who has to get his self-worth from rooms full of strangers because his own mother rationed it. The world's foremost expert on healthy development and her single closest case study grew up to be the cautionary tale. She aced the theory and failed the only practical exam that ever actually counted. So let me land this without filler because here's the thing I can't get past. Beverly Hofstadter is not a funny cold mother who makes Leonard uncomfortable at Thanksgiving. She is a chronicle of the most specific tragedy there is. The expert who couldn't do the thing she was the expert in. She had, in her own head, in her own published research, the complete and correct instructions for how to make a child feel safe and loved and whole. She knew the formula better than anyone alive, and she stood over her own son and withheld it, deliberately, for decades, and called it science. The hypocrisy of Beverly Hofstadter. And the bitterest part isn't that she didn't know how to love him, it's that she did. She knew exactly how. It was her field. She had the cure in her hands the entire time, and she decided he hadn't earned the prescription. A little boy built a machine to get a hug in a house run by the world's foremost authority on why children need them. If that doesn't rearrange how you see this whole family, I don't know what will. So the next time Beverly walks into a scene with that calm, clinical little smile and makes the audience laugh by tearing Leonard down in perfect, unbothered sentences, look past the joke. There's a woman in there who could have fixed everything with the knowledge she already had, and chose the experiment instead. And if you can't quite laugh at her the same way anymore, well, welcome to the couch. You're one of us now. That's it for the core of Apartment 4A. We've done them all now, so stay right here on Cooper's couch, because next time we're stepping outside the main group for the very first time, to the one the show built entirely, so we'd feel smarter than him. The handsome, friendly idiot everybody loved to look down on. And here's the twist I cannot wait to show you. He may be the single happiest, healthiest, most genuinely content human being in the entire series. Zach. Hit that bell so you don't miss it. Thanks for watching, and take care of each other.